Hey guys, it's Phil from PR Moves here having a little bit of a discussion about our schedule release. Now, I do plan on doing a division breakdown for just talking about each division, my predictions by division, just going and moving forward. But I really wanted to discuss here the Bears Week 1 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this has been confirmed, so I'm not just pulling stuff out of thin air right now. And I think this is probably the most interesting Week 1 matchup we could have gotten. I was expecting Lions as our Week 1 matchup because they kind of like to pair us against a division rival. But the Rams is interesting. I think this is a really, I'm going to say interesting again matchup because both of our rosters haven't, like, most of the main players are exactly the same, but there's a lot of new role players on both of our teams. It's going to be really interesting to see how our off seasons go, because I really am curious how the Rams roster is going to look. So the discussion I wanted to bring up is which of our two QBs should start Week 1 against the Los Angeles Rams, because we're now to the point where we have Justin Fields. We think we might have fixed the offensive line. Our receivers are pretty solid. We have a pretty deep running back room. Our tight ends are not like the best, but Cole Kmet can hopefully develop. And our defensive front seven's pretty solid. We don't know much about our secondary, but we did just bring up our safeties coach to be the new defensive coordinator. So there's some hope there. And with all that being said, the big question is, do we put in Andy Dalton Week 1 or do we put in Justin Fields? I'm going to give my opinion before saying like the pros and cons of each. In my personal opinion, I do think Andy Dalton should start Week 1. Or at least start the game Week 1. I know that that's kind of a not exciting. It will probably lead to pretty bad television having Andy Dalton start Week 1. But here's the thing. Our offensive line is really suspect. You got Jenkins, who I'm excited for, but we don't know anything about him at left tackle. We have Daniels coming off injury at guard. Either Whitehair or Mustafa at center. I hope it's Mustafa. I hope they don't just look at it and go back to Whitehair after Mustafa played super well. But if it is Mustafa, this will be his first year ever completely starting. And then Whitehair has never played right guard as far as I believe. He'll be at right guard now. And then at right tackle, it's being rumored it's going to be Jermaine Yafeti, which is super suspect. So I don't think this is like a incredible offensive line just looking at it, right? I really want to see how it plays. And what better way to see how well the offensive line plays than to go up against Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and Sebastian Joseph Day and that really talented offensive front seven for the Rams. Now, the Rams did lose a lot of talent on their defense. I think I got the list of their 4 starters that they lost, and they also lost a few of their backup role player type players. And these are some pretty big losses. I think the biggest one for me is John Johnson. John Johnson is an excellent safety. So, really interested to see how their defense is going to look, especially since they lost Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator, who is now in the other LA team. So, don't know why my computer just went off, but really cool. And now that he's on the other LA team, it's going to be really interesting to see how all that develops. Because they have Raheem Morris now as their defensive coordinator. He was in Atlanta last year. I don't think he's a bad defensive coordinator by any stretch. But he's definitely not as good as Brandon Staley. And then they are losing all these starters. And I think it'll be easier to put Andy Dalton in there to pretty much kind of just ensure what our offense is going to look like. I don't think Andy Dalton is a horrible quarterback. I just don't think he does anything special. And when you throw Andy Dalton in there, if Andy Dalton is struggling and he's playing like 1 out of 10 football, then put Fields in there. Like, it's really not that complicated. Just Deshaun Watson it and put Fields in in the fourth quarter just to see what Fields can do. And if the game is close and Andy Dalton's keeping it close, then just keep Dalton in the game. There's really nothing hurting. We're playing a team that I think in the Rams is going to be a top 5 offense and a top 10 defense. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league to open the season. So I really think Nagy should kind of experiment this first game. He really shouldn't put a bunch of pressure on himself to try to force a miracle here. So why Fields should start. I said I would go back and I would say why Fields should start. Fields is a better player than Andy Dalton. I bet you there's a really high chance that we just go into camp and Justin Fields is so much better than Andy Dalton that he starts week 1. That's just a possibility in general. And if Fields does play and he goes up against what was last year's number 1 defense and he beats them, I'm going to be so impressed. Like, that would be the greatest week 1 win by a Chicago quarterback possibly ever, especially one that's doing his first start. So we should be really excited for this game. I think this is going to be a super exciting week 1 opener. I'm going to do a per division prediction based off of the schedule, because once the schedule is out, I'll be able to use playoffpredictor.net to plan out the whole season. So that's what I will do. And I kind of already have what I think the records will be planned out. So I'll talk to you guys. I believe the first video I'll probably do is NFC North, because that's kind of my division. And that'll probably be out Thursday or Friday. And I'll talk to you guys all then. See ya.